again, and we'll call the Redevelopment Commission meeting to order. And first is roll call. Paul Buning here. BJ Duffy here. Kenny Austin here. Ann McGinnis
Here.
Christy Ott
Here.
Richard Wertz here. We have a quorum. You had a chance to look over the minutes. We need approval of the minutes of the December 18th meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any question? All in favor? Aye. Next on the agenda is we need to elect officers for 2021. And there are 3 offices, president, vice president, and secretary. So need a motion. Should these be done individually? Okay. Need a motion for election of the president.
I move to, where I nominate Richard Wertz.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any others? Okay, we'll close. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. Vice president for 2021.
I'm on the rule, I nominate Paul Buning.
Second.
Paul is rather not.
That's right, I was told that and I forgot that. I tried.
I would make a motion to nominate Ann McGinnis as vice president.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any others? All,
How's that work for you, Ian? First day, why not?
all in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed? All right, next we need also secretary for 2021.
Just have to sign the minutes.
Just have to sign. I make a motion that BJ Debbie serve as secretary for 21.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye.
I'm allowed to abstain.
You can, but it's taken care of. So now we have our officers for 2021. We need to move on to old business. The parking lot on South Main and Wayne Street.
Rob is joining us via conference call. Rob, I don't know if you'd like to introduce this or if you'd like me to.
Well, let me just say a couple things. After the last Redevelopment Commission meeting, we were authorized, staff and I and the president were authorized to send out the offering sheet, which we did. It's been published twice. I don't know if you have received any bids. Have any come in?
Just one.
Okay. So you can, you've got several choices on what to do next. You can, if the bids, if there are no satisfactory bids, you can reject them all. And then, well, you can reject them all even if there is a satisfactory bid. If you were to reject all the bids, then in 30 days, you could deal privately with any party and negotiate an agreement with anybody you choose, but we'd have to wait another 30 days. That's if you throw them all out. The other option would be to choose the one that you think is the best, which is not necessarily the most money, it's really the quality of the bid. And you could just accept the bid, whatever it is, or you could accept the bidder and then task probably me and the president with negotiating with that bidder for the final agreement. So for example, I sound like a broken record every time we do something like this, but my concern is what happens if there's project failure. And so I think we ought to at least, whatever you do today, or we ought to think about what happens if there's a failure, either complete or partial failure. what happens then. And there's no really right answer to that, but it's something that we probably ought to sort through if you choose your bidder today. Does anybody have any questions about that? Krista, you want to take over?
Sure, just to mention that, we did obtain 2 appraisals, and so the offering price was the average of those 2 appraisals, and, we did have 1 bid, that was turned in Friday afternoon, and so you have those, if we can open those now, I assume,
Yes.
to look at those, and then, I did ask the, Todd and Billy Venus to attend and just give us a brief overview, today of their proposal. So at this time, if you two would like to come up, I can bring whatever you need me to up on the overheads, and we can get a summary of your proposal.
A summary, yes. My name is Billy Bemis, Todd Bemis, Bemis Group, Garment Factory Events, and what you're going to see on the proposal, Newkirk Square LLC, a new LLC entity that was formed with the 2 of us as principals, along with our other partner with Garment Factory Events and Garment Factory Holdings, Quan Casey. Todd and I have been in, he's been here, well, much longer than me, because he's much older, doing development and real estate. Over 30 years, I've been here almost 25 years doing real estate and development. We've put a team together to I guess the picture's up there, the schematic, we're proposing that on the southeast corner or southwest corner of Main Street in Wayne. That would come over to the southeast corner to Wayne and Water Street. Essentially just directly across the street from Garment Factory Events. This proposal takes into account the parking lot that was out for bid. All the remaining property on there were Mr. Newkirk's service station, where he formerly operated and recently retired, and 2 rental properties on Water Street, and 1 single-family house on Wayne Street have all been purchased and currently being held by us. We have a team together of architects, designers, engineers. You'll see those on there. Roland Design is the architect, civil engineers Crossroads, local attorney Huddleston and Huddleston, Environmental Forensics is our environmental. Bemis Group will act as the general contractor, and Tanya Smith of local real estate office and broker will represent us on the selling side of the units. So what we're proposing is a mixed-use development. This particular building right there, that is where the Newkirk property is, and the actual corner of the parking lot on Main and Wayne. We're proposing about 10,000 square feet of retail on the first floor. The second floor will have 7, we're calling them flats, but basically condos, apartments, which in apartments, please don't misunderstand. I'm giving you a reference. All of the units are for sale. These all will be owner occupied. Todd and I, and I guess the LLC, Newkirk Square will maintain and own the commercial space on the first floor, and our company, Bemis Group, will manage the retail, which is what we've been doing for 30 plus years. So there's 14 units in that building, residences, and on the other side, what we're proposing are 11 townhomes that are single-family individual units. I guess before we go to that, since the picture's there, what you're seeing here is there's an east-west alley right behind B2S Labs, behind the library, and behind Carpenter, that runs on the north side of this property. Right there where the arrow is, that's the alley that runs east and west between Water and Main. we're proposing an underground subgrade parking garage that will service all of the or not all the townhomes, all the flats. So those units will be covered with the garage and an elevator from the bottom floor to whichever unit they're on the second or third. And then this unit, the mixed-use development building also, Krista, there's a picture of kind of the roof. There's a rooftop patio entertainment area for those particular residents that would purchase and live there. And then on the other side, we have proposed 11 townhomes. Those are all the single-family rear access with a minimum of a 2-car garage, and square footages of all of these is somewhere, depending on the unit, is 1,300 up to about 2,000 square feet.
Don't be misled by the white on the townhomes, they just haven't been colorized yet.
And so, basically, acquiring all the other adjoining properties, the parking lot, I think, has maybe 9 spaces, made sense so that we can utilize that whole half block, rather than be limited by that particular stretch of parking. This makes just for a much better, cleaner, nicer look that seems to fit on that half block much better than with the 9-unit parking. Parking on the street will be effectively unchanged, and perhaps even additional parking added. We don't know that yet until Crossroad does some more work, but obviously there are curb cuts now into Mr. Newkirk's, into all the residences, and some of those will go away because these are rear entry residences. And I guess the magic question is, I guess we'll talk real quick about the residential units. They're going to start at around $450,000. We know that downtown living is downtown Franklin specifically. It's a commodity. People are looking for it. People are knocking on doors. People are sending letters. People are trying to move into this area because of what downtown Franklin, I'm speaking to the choir, I know you guys know all of that, of all the growth and advancements that have been made this past year, previous years, and what are planned with the amphitheater going forward. This will only help to service all of our current retailers. None of the retail space that's added, as we've done in the past, our intent is not to take somebody from Jeff Street or this street. We've got properties and other tenants too. Our goal and our history has been to bring typically new tenants or different tenants into the downtown mix. And that will be our hope also for the retail. And I guess I'll just get to our offering. The assessed valuation right now on all the properties that we own, of course, the parking lot has a 0 assessed valuation, and with the remaining other properties, that assessed valuation is $514,700. And our investment in this development is $10 to $11 million actual dollars. And you can take, the 4 or 5 residential and a small service station, what that assessed value of $500,000 is what it will be within 24 months when these are hopefully built out and occupied. It'll be well within the millions of dollars that will put money back in perpetuity into the general fund, into the library, into everything that the city and these tax dollars go to. So with that, we are proposing our offer is a purchase price of the city parking lot at $199, if it's Main or 199 South Main Street is $5,000 to the RDC for purchase and control of the city lot. We'll entertain any questions, comments. Krista, anything that, was not covered in the proposal you'd like to hear?
Yes, just got it, but I see on page 4, paragraph 9, it says no financial participation will be requested of the RDC except for closing expenses. By that, are you talking about the entire project? Or
No.
the purchase of parking?
Just on 199.
Okay, that
Yeah, absolutely.
doesn't mean you won't be asking for money on the development.
We will not be asking money for the development. This will be.
Now I am confused.
Pardon?
I said, now I am confused. It says no financial participation, so you're talking about the whole project.
We are not, we do not look at this as a public-private partnership. The RDC put the lot up for sale. We're trying to buy the lot. We are financing the project ourselves. We will not ask for city, RDC, or taxpayer money.
$10 million to do that project, build that project is coming out of our pocket.
Just want to know up front.
Sure.
If I understand what Rob said, we have to have an average of the bids.
Rob, do we have to have the full asking price in order to accept the offer, or how does that work?
No, you don't. We were required to post the offering sheet with the average price included, but you do not have to reach that number on the bid. So I can't hear every word, but I think I heard 5,000. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you could accept that, or you could accept the bidder, and then we could talk to them in the coming days about what happens in the event of failure.
And is that what we normally do through an economic development agreement, Rob?
Yeah, very similar. This would be simpler because they're not asking for us to participate in the financing. But I guess and you don't have to go along with this, my point. I think it's just my job to think ahead to a bleak day. But if the project fails, we've given away, or not given away, we've sold a roughly $50,000 parking lot for $5,000 to a private party, and it's a community asset. So I think it behooves us to think ahead. And if the project goes and it's successful, then that's probably a great deal. But if it fails, we've lost 9 or 10 spots and some real estate. That may be a risk that you think is acceptable, and if it is, that's fine also. But you have the ability to negotiate with them now to get some sort of security. And that could be in the form of a bank line of credit that is posted until the project is finished. And if the project fails, maybe we get our $50,000 back, or maybe the city, in the event of project failure, maybe the city can have access to some of the garment factory parking. You can be as creative as you want to be, or you can just leave it play. But I just want to make sure I've made that point.
I guess I don't know which one of you go there, Todd, but as I understand it, the financing is already secure for this and you're ready to go.
And there's an attachment, I think it's the last page, from Jim Gray, Vice President of Jackson County Bank.
And what's your timeline on this project?
We're already in the schematics, the final architectural are waiting to be finalized because obviously we're taking into consideration the parking lot. We're hoping to have that done within the next few weeks and start the process with the planning office, with permitting and all that. We're hoping to start sometime in the latter part of the spring of this year.
This will go through 23 probably.
And on page 3 of number 7, says that the project will be completed in its entirety, all units built and sold by 23.
That's our anticipation, that's our hope. We know that the market is
right now for this downtown living. And we also can't predict certain acts of God, such as the pandemic and stuff like that, so we have to take that into consideration.
I think before I ask the RDC members to speak, Mayor, would you have any comments on this project?
Good morning. We got a different looking board today, different people here, so congratulations, Dan. I just want to say, I think it's pretty obvious here, it's a great project for the city of Franklin, and somebody asked me the other day, do you think it will change the downtown feel, the hometown feel? I think it's going to add to that. Quite honestly, people have been asking for this. The parking lot, I think it's 9 spaces. We're adding 300 parking spaces just a block away from with the amphitheater. Also, just for the record, the garment factory parking across the street, that is the city parking lot. I didn't know anybody did that. I heard them say something about the parking lot. But anyway, if there's some kind of clawback here, you know, this is, I think it was $56,000, I think is what it's appraised for, and $5,000 is the offer. I would think if we want to have a clawback that you would think that we try to move this as quickly as we can, but if you want to have a clawback, maybe if the project's not substantially completed in 2 years, get paid the remaining balance of what it appraised for. I mean, that's just a thought that I had while I was sitting here listening to it, but I'm all in favor of the project. I think it's a good project and looking forward to it. I know time is an essence. This has actually been talked about quietly. Us didn't want to get it out to the public, but these guys, they brought it to me 3 or 4 months ago. And I know you've been doing some legwork. And I know it's potential buyers are already talking about wanting to get started as soon as possible. So if anything, if we need a special meeting, if it doesn't get done today, if we need a special meeting in a couple of weeks, I would be in favor of that to move it forward. So that's all I got. So thank you.
Thank you. If you guys would just hang on, I'm going to kind of start here and go down. For the RDC Commission, I am in favor of this project, and with what the Beamises have done, I feel like we could move forward and expedite and get this project moving. Paul?
I agree. I'm in favor of the project. I would like to see if we could find a clawback that's agreeable to you guys as quickly as possible. But I don't want to set a bad precedent for the future or anything like that. But I'm 100% in favor of this project, and I want to see it happen.
Okay. Elaine?
I would agree with what Paul said, 100% in favor of it. The Bemis brothers have a great track record here in Johnson County. I'd be fine with the clawback as well. Again, I think time is of the essence, so if we can make that happen quickly, all the better.
PJ?
I have no problem with the project, but I'd like to discuss the clawback. In other words, this is the first time I've seen it.
Right.
I don't mind a special meeting.
Okay. Kenny?
Well, dittos to what everyone said already. It's the first time I've seen it as well, but I think the $5,000 is, I'm not going to say it's a moot point for the project, but I'm a little bit surprised that they're offering $5,000. That they would ask the city for the parking lot to do the project at no cost. So with that said, I'm in total favor of the project. I think it's amazing. I understand, you know, Rob's protected the city for years, you know, as an attorney for the city, and I think he's done that, you know, a really good job of doing that. But I think the $5,000 isn't really a catch point for me, specifically. So I think Steve said it well, that we know we got parking right across the street, and then we've added 300 across the street, so I don't think parking is an issue.
Okay. Krista?
I agree with everything, yeah, I agree with everything else. I think it'll be a great addition to the downtown, even though I don't know you, so I'm all for it, so.
Kristen?
I don't have anything additional. I think, if you want to move forward with the project, and then we can either have a special meeting or some kind of economic development agreement, or if Rob has another suggestion on how to handle that, to keep it moving, I think that's what we should do.
Mr. Wertz?
Yes.
I mean, I guess I just want to make a comment that, and I don't disagree at all with what Kenny said about Mr. Shaftstall, but this was out on the public, and this is the only bid that has come in. Directly across the street, Garment Factory Events was a public-private partnership, and it was a fantastic one. And I hope the city, I hope you, and the previous RDC members that we presented to, 5 years ago, think the same thing. Through a pandemic, we're still there. We were closed. My point is, there's a $3 to $4 to $5 million piece of property right across the street that these same three principals own. We already own everything in that block. We've started acquiring that block. I'd have to look on Beacon or whatever, but at least 17. I mean, it's been a couple of years with anticipation for this development. We've talked to multiple prospective buyers. We have some that are eager, as one of you mentioned, time is of the essence, and that's my concern, is the timing and the restrictions, because yes, we could do something there without it. Is it going to be to that grand scale? Probably not. Will it get revised completely? Potentially. But there are people that stand up here all the time and ask for tax breaks and things. So Kenny, thank you for recognizing that that it's in the grand scope of things, with the additional parking that's coming to the amphitheater and that sort of thing. What is the city giving up? And that's all, because it's not that we won't give a line of credit or something like that Rob suggested, but it's the timing and the being bogged down and having factors that are maybe unwarranted. We're here, we office here, we've been here 30 years, and we're not going anywhere. So thank you.
Okay. Would entertain go ahead, Mayor.
I just want to add one more thing myself. Seem like you always remember something, right? And I know everybody knows, I just want on the record, this is not, the funds, the tax collections off of this does not go into the TIF. This goes back into our schools, and you said the library, all the other taxing entities are going to benefit from this project. So that's, to me, assessed values for the schools and everything going up, that's a big difference. I mean, than just going back into the TIF for us to invest. The other thing that I wanted to point, I do believe, by looking at some of the drawings and stuff I've seen, that we're losing 9 parking places. I think that we probably will gain 3 or 4. You're not committed to that, I know. But I think we might gain 3 or 4 parking spaces back on the street, like in front of it, right there, where the entryways are that Todd brought up earlier. So we're not going to lose a total of 9 parking places for the parking lot. Enough said. Thank you.
And perhaps it's subject to the approval with.
You want to step up to the mic?
Well, I was going to say, if the project doesn't get approved obviously we have approval steps with the planning office, but some caveat that if it's not approved or something from the beginning, then because we're not going to dismantle the parking lot. That's the other thing. The parking lot's there. There's no structure. There's the improvement is an asphalt and some curb and some parking things. So that would be maybe another scenario.
Is it, we got 2 attorneys and Rob, is it possible to approve the offer from the Bemis brothers with the caveat that they have to move forward with the project, or if they don't move forward with the project, the parking lot would come back to the RDC. That's a question.
That's kind of.
Yeah, we can write anything up you want to do. It can be, pretty simple, and we can get it done pretty quickly.
Okay, thank you, BJ.
I'd like to know what I'm agreeing to. In other words, if the project doesn't start, does that start by September, start by November? That's too loosey-goosey for me. I don't mind doing it with conditions, I don't mind doing it with clawback, but I'd like to know what I'm agreeing to.
I'm trying to figure out how to word it, a motion so that this would allow them to move forward with the project, as I know they're going with the different boards. And I like the idea of $10 to $11 million of asset base coming back to our community in all facets without a tip. What would be your time frame or thought?
You mean in terms of a meeting?
In terms of a meeting, or ask them, Rob, to agree to the purchase with the stipulation that it has to be completed in 6 months or a year?
I don't think it'll be done right in 6 months. I love it, but
A
I
year?
don't think so.
To start the project, Richard, or to finish?
To start.
To start, yes, I mean, we've already started, yeah. We've spent $1 billion already. We have a contract, with Roland Design that's well over 100,000 in the architectural that takes that into account. That 100,000, we'll probably throw 50,000 of that away if we have to re-engineer and re-architect the site right now. So we already, Crossroads contract is well over 50 grand. That's already, all that's already been done. So I mean, the project's already started. It's not like we're gonna dig the parking lot tomorrow, but Joanna still has to make some decisions, and Mark has to make some decisions on what goes on and so forth. But yeah, the project's already well underway.
Any other comment or questions? At this point, I think we would entertain a motion if we want to move forward. To accept Bemis' offer.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the Bemis' offer as written.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the Bemis offer as written or proposed. Is there a second?
I'd second.
We have a second. Any question before we go?
I'd like to know some specifics about how we're going to get it back if it doesn't go.
How long would it take to negotiate and do some kind of a soft clawback? I mean, what would the time frame be on that? If we went that route, what are we talking about?
Rob, they're asking what a soft fallback, how much time is it?
Well, I was going to pretend like I was in Florida, so that's why I called in, but I'm actually in town, so I can be around Billy anytime, and maybe a line of credit makes more sense to them. I mean, I think that we could put a specific clawback together on paper pretty quickly. Like, so, for example, you could, I hope that answers your question.
Did that satisfy you, Paul?
I didn't hear the answer.
Oh, okay, we didn't.
What was that timeline?
What was the timeline?
Well,
It's a matter of
they're
days.
asking me how quickly I can work with them immediately.
He can do it immediately.
This week.
This week.
We could get it done and get it on paper quickly.
difference from the 5,000 to the 54,000 asking price is $49,000. You got our word. If that project doesn't go, we'll write a check for $49,000 to the city of Franklin. If you want to put it in writing, however you want to do it, our reputation is far too important, as you guys know, that we are not going to walk out of here and say, oh, thanks for the $49,000 you gave us. We'll write you a check for it, but the project's going to go. And however Rob wants to do that callback, we'll do it. Time is of the essence. We need to know that you're going to sell that lot, and you're going to sell it to us.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor, and because of the sensitivity, I think it should be a roll call vote. Is that right?
Okay, so before we do that,
All you have is his verbal word that he'll pay the $49,000.
I'll sign it, we'll sign a paper that says we'll pay it back.
all right, Mayor, what you got?
It sounds like to me that Rob is saying that he could get on this pretty quick. And Todd here is saying that if it doesn't go, they can write you the check for $49,000. I would ask the RDC to consider telling Rob to proceed with figuring out how to put that in writing, the $49,000 within a time frame of 2 years. I mean, it's going to take some time to get this filled out. Does that sound reasonable?
Sure.
2 years to get that agreement, or 2 years?
No, we'll get the project.
Okay, we'll get it started.
So I think that's pretty reasonable. Within 2 years, if they don't get substantially completed, that Rob can write it up that way, that it's not substantially completed in 2 years, that Demus would write you a check for $49,000.
Okay.
That gives Rob a direction and gives PJ, I think, something to think about what to vote on, if that makes sense.
Okay. Rob, can we go ahead and vote on approving this with the stipulation of the guarantee of 2 years to pay us back if it does not complete?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll retract my first motion.
No. We have a motion on the floor to approve the Venus offer.
Okay,
And now we're going to add that they would pay back the difference over a 2-year period if it's not completed.
But you have paperwork.
So Kenny could amend his motion.
Rob, that's why I thought I'd retract it and then just restate it, with that stipulation.
Yeah.
But we'll move forward.
Good.
Want to move forward, Mr. President?
No,
You have paperwork that Billy pointed out that says that we will be completed by the end of '23, which essentially is 3 years. Now we're saying 2 years. So I don't want to come back in here in 24 months and the flats are done and the retail's done and only a few townhomes are up and you say you didn't complete your agreement, write us a check. When we need all of 23 to get the rest of the project done.
So why don't we amend it to, instead of 2 years, to 3 years?
okay.
Or call it substantially done, or when there's $2 million of assessed valuation there, or something tangible that you guys can grab a hold of.
Your calculation here was 23.
Yes.
21, spring of 21 and complete in 23.
Correct.
But all of 20.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It's not January 1st of '23, it's the whole year.
We can amend it to 3 years.
Okay.
So I'll make my motion and amend that to 3 years. That they
Okay.
write us a check for $49,000 if it's not substantially completed at the end of 2023.
Thank you, Kenny.
I would second
And
that.
now we have a set. I'm going to eliminate unless there's a question, I'll go ahead and call a roll call vote. Paul? Aye. Aye. BJ?
Aye.
Kenny?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
And Richard is an aye. So the motion carries, and the project is accepted as presented, with Rob drawing up the document to be signed. Will that be signed by Krista, the president, and the Venuses?
It would be you and the Bemis's.
Okay. The document will be signed by the president and the Venus brothers.
Thank you guys very much.
Okay? Everybody okay with it?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. That takes care of the old business, and thank you, Mayor, for your comments. The next in their new business is a shell building update.
Good morning. I'm Don Trivick, and I'm one of the listing agents on the Shell Building. And to give you an update, we currently have the Shell Building under contract for sale, which is subject to the completion of a lease agreement between who will be the new owner of the Shell Building and this company. We are pretty far down the road with it, and we anticipate that here within the next few weeks, we will have the transaction will be completed. It'll be in writing. And it will be pending closing at some point here in the next 90 days. So it's very good news. The company with whom we're negotiating to sign a lease in that building is a company that will be very, very, very good to the city, for the city. And potentially will attract other business. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? Timeline of completion of documentation or something you had told me about another 60 days.
It'll be from the removal of the contingencies, otherwise known as landmines, which are relatively simple, the major of which is the execution of a lease between the developer buying the building and the company, the tenant. We might have 90 days, but I doubt it.
Is there a time frame for the person to move also?
The company is in an existing lease, and their lease expires in December of this year, of 21. They have asked to get into the Shell Building earlier. They're looking at, hopefully July. We're waiting for an answer from Runabout whether or not all of the completion, all of the tenant improvements and things that are needed to complete the Shell Building can be done by July. I think that's probably kind of tight, but the occupancy maybe as early as August, September possibly.
What about the closing date?
I can't hear you, Richard.
What about the closing date?
Probably somewhere in March.
Okay, did you hear that, Rob?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Don.
Any other questions? I'll be glad to answer. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to everybody.
Okay, on to other new business. We need a motion to approve Resolution 2021-1, Utilities and Maintenance.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
These are the standard, are they not, resolutions we see every year?
Yes, sir.
How about a motion to just approve all of them unless somebody's against one of them?
Okay, should
We need to have a public hearing on each of them.
Okay. Okay, on Resolution 2021-01, Utilities and Maintenance, $35,000. We'll have a public meeting. Are there any questions? Public meeting is closed and need a motion.
Need a motion, or excuse me, motion to approve Resolution 2021-01.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2021-02, Professional Services, $50,000. A public meeting is open. Any comments? Public meeting is closed.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2021-03, the RDC bond, $1,356,195. Have a public meeting, it's open. Any comments? Public meeting is closed. We need a motion. Move to approve in a second.
Second.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 2021-04, the Shell Building interest, $218,024. Have a public meeting. Any comments, questions? The public meeting is closed. We need a motion.
I move to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hopefully that number will be cut down if we're able to close. Next, we have Resolution 2021-05, the RDA bond payment, $591,500.
It's $591,000.
$591,500. We have a public meeting that's open. Any comments or questions? Public meeting is closed.
Move to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have Resolution 2021-06, Commerce and Arbor right-of-way, $7,250. Have a public meeting, it's open. Any comments or questions? The public meeting is closed. Need a motion? We have a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to other business, the December financials. Krista?
Yeah, you have the December financial report in front of you. The last report of the year is always, I think, the most informational. Just shows you where we end our cash balances for the year. So you can see at the top, the beginning of the year, what we had in the accounts of 2020 in our 311 TIF control fund, and then we have a $500,000 investment, and then a capital fund investment. So we started our year with $2,157,020. Below in blue is where your revenue, so our property tax disbursement for the May property taxes, and then our December tax disbursement was just a little over $2 million. And then our revenue and grant reimbursements for the year, that's listed there as revenue as well. So the total receipts for 2020 is $4,425,090. Over here, this is the sum of the expenditures just for 2020. So that number does not match the 6,922,000 below because, as you can see, a lot of these projects span over multiple years. We have one that goes as far back as 2014 that's still listed on here, and so the expenditures are just for 2020. And then that leaves your cash balance at the end of the year, $2,843,000. So that $2,843,000, when you get your January report, that number will be over here in the column B to start the year of 2021. So we're about $700,000 ahead to start the year than we were this year. Remaining appropriations, if all of these were spent, obviously they weren't by the end of the year. That would give us a cash balance, if all of the appropriations were spent, of $2,073,000. And then below you have, in each column, you have what was approved by each resolution, and then what was actually spent by each resolution. Because this is the last financial report for the year, when you get your January financial report, you will only have the resolutions on your January financial report that were encumbered to 2021, and then you'll have the resolutions that we approved today on your 2021 report as well. And so you'll get a little bit more accurate picture. As you can see, some of these over here, they had remaining balances, and now they've expired at the end of the year, so those balances don't get brought over into 2021. So those numbers will look even a little bit better in January until we start approving more projects. But just to kind of give you an overview of that financial report. Any questions on that one before I move to the US 31 TIF?
Krista, on the second from the bottom, the 2011 show building marketing budget of $10,000. Now we have an offer that will go away.
Correct.
We didn't spend it.
We did not spend any of that, and with the offer that we have, I don't see a need for a new resolution for that $10,000. Fingers crossed. The next one, so this is specifically for the US 31 TIF district. And so again, this shows you our revenue for both the north and south allocation areas, and then the December north and south allocation area payments that were made as well. The only resolutions that we have approved are listed, and those are the bond payments, so the $295,000 that was made in January and then in July of this year, and then you just approved that resolution to make those payments for this year. I do have listed below, because the idea on the RDA bond is to completely spend it down. So it has a negative balance, which you'll see on the next report. And so that negative balance has to be paid for out of the balance in this TIF district. And so we have the estimated costs. We don't have resolution numbers, but we have the estimated cost of the playground, the splash pad, and the pickleball courts, which we know are going to need to come out of this regular TIF district once all of the funds are spent from that RDA bond. And so if those full amounts are spent out of here, which they may or may not be, depending on how some of the other balances come in on the bond, that would leave us with $629,000 in remaining appropriations. And so that would leave us still with a cash balance in this TIF district of $883,000. And that was, obviously that will be updated for next year, but similar for next year as well, for this year as well. The next page is just your update on the RDA bond to show you where we're at spending wise for it. So the balance at the beginning of the year, the revenue and the expenditures that were made in 2020. We still have an investment accruing interest that we're getting off of that. Our remaining appropriations that we've approved through this, and then so that leaves us, like I said, with a negative bond balance, which is why that dollar amount is on the month financial report that I just went over. Are there any questions about that? There's a note at the bottom reminding you about the bond balance because of the negative balance of where those will be paid for. That takes me to the cash flow. So this is actually cash flow starting for January. So I went ahead, just to give you a little bit better picture, starting the year. I went ahead and updated this with each of the resolutions that have been carried over encumbered. So you could see through 2020, here's what's been spent for each of these projects. And so, like at the bottom, the loan payments that were made for the Shell building in 2020 were $74,000, whereas we just approved, because we start repaying principal and interest this year, you can see where that resolution amount jumps to $218,000 for 2021. In 2020, we spent $30,731 on right-of-way purchases for Commerce and Arvin. You approved a new resolution for that remaining amount that is needed of $7,250. So those are just the updated balances there. You have the utilities and maintenance, of course, and then projects under consideration are listed below. So a couple things that I wanted to point out there. We still have the Commerce and Graham right-of-way land purchases in order to start on that for next year. So that's listed in 2021 for $1.3 million. And then we have 2022, we have the Commerce and Graham, I'm sorry, the first one was Commerce and Arvin, that's this year. And then Commerce and Graham would be next year. And so that was moved over to 2022. You can see those numbers over there. We don't have any numbers for Earlywood and Graham because that's not listed on here for 2023. Jim Black Road is listed along with the Yandy Street. We have the match is 80% reimbursed, so we know that our match is $248,000 for construction inspection of Yandy Street. So I went ahead and took 80% of that, and you'll see that listed here. That 80% is in green in the third quarter of 2022. So that shows that revenue coming back in. And then just a couple of projects on the horizon. I know we've talked about FTC programming. Because of the balances and those being back up, I did add $100,000 back in for both 2021 and 2022 for your consideration. Those are listed there, and then also there's some improvements that need to be made to the Orrin Wright parking lot. And that's a very rough estimate of $60,000 that's listed there as well. And then as the development at the east side on State Road 44 continues, there's been some discussion about a roundabout that may be needed at 600 East to help some of that traffic on the east side. I don't have any dollar amounts there, but I do have that listed for 2022 at the earliest. So that starting balance here, the $2,843,000. Let's see if everybody can see this. I did update that here. So this is our fund balance to start the year. Shows our net outflow. So our projected funds balance in blue is what you want to pay close attention to. So you have the first quarter balance, second quarter, third quarter is the lightest, and then fourth quarter at a little over $2 million. So that's what we would start the first quarter of 2022 with. So that number is then translated up here, and then you can see below. So the numbers are looking better than they did definitely for this year. A little bit more comfortable than they have been. So good to see that. Questions? You all have copies of those.
Any comments?
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you, Krista. Good job.
Just one thing, I have all the resolutions that were approved, but I need you all to sign those. I'm going to pass those down, start passing those down. Please make sure you sign.
You hear that? We need to sign all the resolutions before you leave. Okay. Is Rosie here? Oh, okay. What's going on in the city?
Well, I can tell you what's going on at the chamber. So today we are having the chamber's facilitated ribbon cutting for Henry Mills. which is in the old Frechette building.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's at 11 o'clock. They've had a soft opening, and I can tell you, a personal experience, the macaroni and cheese is really, really good. So we're also working with the city on doing the state of the city. Traditionally, the chamber partners and we do our annual meeting and the state of the city at the same time in February. We're going to push that to March, and it will be recorded then.
Wonderful. Hopefully this cold will be easing by spring.
I sure hope so.
Dana, then?
Yeah, we had a new project come before the EDC. IBC Advanced Alloys is going to be expanding. So we've had a tax abatement request for that. That's continuing to move forward. Pretty excited about that. Public Art Advisory Commission is also moving forward well. They're starting to look at some specific projects and specific things that we can do with the city and continuing to grow the cultural arts and entertainment district. So lots of good things going on.
A lot of activities. Amanda?
Projects started to kind of get a little bit quiet during December, and they're starting to pick right back up. We've got
Great.
some that have been percolating out there and starting to do some additional negotiations on them. So it's definitely starting to get exciting again. So.
Like I said, hopefully this cold gets behind us and several of these activities and projects we can start enjoying again. Jess?
No, Justin.
No, Jess? Okay.
Yes, Rob.
Rob? See him over there with his mask.
Yes. That seems to be the standard wardrobe choice of the year. We are working on our virtual sponsorship party. This will be the first time in 16 years that we've had to go this way. So we'll remain creative with it, but we will get you all links on how to get to that and enjoy it. And if you've been to any one of our parties, it will be just as lively. We've already filmed a lot of the videos, so it should be a very fun evening for us. We are also, just so everybody knows, we are still doing private watch parties at the theater. Every 3 hours, 7 days a week, you can rent the theater for $200 and watch one of the 6 curated movies that we've got. We also have outside concessions that we're doing on Friday and Saturday nights. So we're trying to do as much as we can to make sure that marquee stays lit and the blade sign as well. So that's it.
Thank you. Wish you success. This has been a new year with everything on the internet and Zoom meetings, and so we wish you success. The board. Paul, anything? Dan?
Thank you for welcoming me.
Hey, welcome. Yeah, well, I should have introduced.
Oh, no.
She's our new member.
Thank you.
BJ? Kenny?
Looking forward to the Beavis's project. That's amazing. Todd and Billy, congratulations. I saw it for the very first time this morning, but that's extremely exciting for the city.
Christie? Kristen? The next meeting is February 16th at 8 a.m. here. Meeting adjourned.